Welcome everybody to Wrestling is Cool, the coolest wrestling podcast on the planet. And this week is extra cool because wrestling was so great this week in terms of its weekly television. Sancho, how you doing, pal?
I have great news for
Down since day one-ish.
It's not just views. I have great news for all the listeners all over the world and viewers. We are now officially putting timestamps. Timestamps are in for all those people that have been asking for it. He finally went. Oh, we heard that we are, we listen to the people. We're not the authority. We heard the uproar from everybody chanting his names constantly. Timestamp is over.
Look, I honestly thought that Timestamp, he had a decent little spot there. I thought that maybe he was a B+ player, but according to the audience, according to the people, the Wrestling is Cool universe, he needs to be in the main event of WrestleMania. But yeah, now there's timestamps because you jabronis just kept gunning at my throat for it. So yes, timestamps are happening.
You kept taking over our shows with your chants and your signs, and we couldn't stop taking. We had to listen. You know.
Yeah, timestamps is gonna get a Daniel Bryan monster Imagine Dragons type vignette hype package.
Timestamp mania soon coming.
Other big asks. We are on audio services: Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts. If you use that for whatever reason, whatever services that you're using, you'll be able to find us in audio only. And of course, if you want to find us 3 days early with more in-depth content like our Raw reviews, SmackDown reviews, our Wrestling is Cool Plus, and much more, please check out the Patreon. And you would also have gotten this episode 3 days early if you are in the free feed. So patreon.com/SantiZap. Again, patreon.com/SantiZap. Thank you to everybody from Patreon that has been supporting us. You guys have been great. You know what else was great, Rob? But let's not get into that just yet. There's a couple of great things that we want to highlight because, it was a sad week for wrestling fans, like for those that are in the know, those that have their finger in the zeitgeist and know, who's getting released, who's getting fired, things like that. So from that perspective, it's been a pretty downer of a week, but we don't want to dwell on the sad side of those things. Like, we know everybody there is very talented and we're confident that they're going to land on their feet, and we wish them all the best. But what we want to do today is we want to highlight these wrestlers who are cool. It's called Wrestling is Cool, and it's
called Wrestling is Cool, damn it.
It's cool to me, damn it. So that's what we're going to be doing today. So there's a few wrestlers that we wanted to highlight. So Dolph Ziggler, probably the most notable name of all the releases, former Money in the Bank winner, multi-time world champion, like one of the darlings of the people, was one of the ones that was released. And you said, hey, we should do a Dolph Ziggler is Cool segment. Now, what's your Dolph Ziggler memories like? Because you had mentioned that you kind of caught the back half of his career more so.
Right. Dolph was the kind of guy that, because for those of you who are new to the show, I was not part of the Ruthless Aggression or the PG era, so there was a big void in my life missing from Dolph Ziggler. I know at one time Big E and AJ were, managers were in that faction with Dolph Ziggler, and he's always been, for me, like a solid guy that he could put people over, he could sell, he could always put together well thought out matches. And at the end of the day, whoever has a feud with Dolph Ziggler will come out better. And you get to see like the entire repertoire of his opponent. And at the same time, Dolph has always been that guy where multiple times from when I watch highlights and things of that sort and going back into his old matches where he was always this close. And I remember you post on one of your TikToks is him cashing in. And I'm so happy that you did post that because I was able to relive one of the most, according to what you said, the best cash-ins of all time. I still think Seth Rollins is a little bit better. But when it comes to Money in the Bank and having Dolph, I just enjoy Dolph's emotions. Mm-hmm. I enjoy Dolph's passion for the business. And I've heard multiple interviews and you hear multiple stories that he's just an overall good dude. One of the stories is that he bought all the indie wrestlers t-shirts during the pandemic to support them. I just bought loads and loads of them to make sure that they could, feed themselves and things of that sort. So Dolph Ziggler is cool. And for 20 years in the WWE, he would be greatly missed. but realistically, he wasn't being utilized well on TV these days. And I'm happy for him that if he does go to AEW, he would get to show the world what makes him one of the best of arguably of all time. I know people would think of him as like a mid-carder throughout his entire career, but he could put on 5-star matches. And knowing AEW, they will find a way to put him in a 5-star match. And imagine Dolph Ziggler versus Kenny Omega. That will be a phenomenal match.
The one I want to see, Dolph Ziggler Swerve Strickland, because I swerve when I drive. Yeah, I swerve. Right. Oh, it'd be so many great matches available in AEW.
Be a valuable veteran to the locker room. He will add a little bit of that. I'm not saying lack of a better word, like the CM Punk understood how to do episodic wrestling. That's what made Collision so well. You know, CM Punk had that ability to cut a good promo, had that good ability to slow down a match, to make it, have a blend in that WWE style with AEW, that familiar style that we all love. And I think Dolph could bring that to the locker room and kind of create a different beat. His matches won't have, and I'm not saying these things because I'm a WWE guy forever. And I'm just saying, like, AEW is known to be very spot fest, but it's in a good way, right? It's not as spotty as AAA, like luchador wrestling sometimes, where that's very spotty, and that is the style of luchador wrestling, lucha libre. I'm saying that Dolph could do some storytelling along the way in the ring, and hopefully that could rub off the other wrestlers in AEW, because Dolph does it the best.
So you know what's crazy? I think a lot of people think that Dolph Ziggler is a spot machine. He isn't. He's just so good at selling that it looks like you broke him in half whenever you clothesline him. So sometimes people think of him as like, oh, he does all these spots. No, he doesn't. He does the regular work rate that another wrestler would do, that would be a technician in the ring, because that's what Dolph Ziggler is at the end of the day. He's a technician. He's also
he's a real wrestler.
He's a real wrestler, and he just makes it look like you shot him in the back of the head, man. Anytime you hit him, he's so fantastic at selling. And even if he doesn't end up going to AEW, I think this will be like the silver lining. Maybe he gets to go head first into that comedy career of his, where he can be a little bit more unfiltered than when he was on a WWE contract. Right. Because he wants to do a lot of things, and whether it's AEW, whether it's his comedy, whether he's just I'm just gonna chill now because I've made lots of money and I'm gonna hang out and whatever. But I would love to see him in some matches in AEW for sure.
Question for someone who's watched Dolph Ziggler the most: what makes Dolph Ziggler so cool to you?
I think what makes Dolph Ziggler, like aside from talking about his work rate, because I think everybody knows how good he is, I look at Dolph Ziggler's career, and to me, like, I just see somebody that went all out for every single gimmick that he was ever given. So Dolph Ziggler's career, many don't know, he started off as a caddy for Kerwin White, aka Chavo Guerrero, because that was just the Ruthless Aggression era. We had those weird gimmicks that definitely wouldn't go over very well. And then he went on to do the Spirit Squad and went all out with the Spirit Squad, becoming one of the most annoying factions in the history of the WWE. On paper, that is the dumbest gimmick ever. And he's still like, okay, this is what I have, I'm going for it. So I've always respected Dolph Ziggler's ability to go all in on whatever it is that he's doing. If you listen to his interview with Chris Van Vliet, he was even willing to go all in on the concept that he was the loser, right? He was even wanting to make you feel like he was the loser when he cashed in Money in the Bank. So he's self-aware of what the fans feel about him, of what the fans want to see, of fans' expectations. So all of these things, you put all of these things together and you have a wonderful 20-year career that is going to be remembered fondly without him having all of these WrestleMania main events, without him winning Royal Rumbles and being the guy. Like, he has carved out with pure effort and pure passion this corner of the wrestling community that is going to forever love him. And if you look at somebody of his accolades, like, You know, I look at somebody like Alberto Del Rio, who has 10 times the accolades as Dolph Ziggler, and he'll never be remembered anywhere near as fondly as Dolph Ziggler. And I think that the passion that he put in over those 20 years is so evident that he's made us fall in love with him. A lot of people are like, Dolph Ziggler is overrated. He didn't accomplish anything. It's not about what he accomplished. The reason we love him is because, again, he went 130 miles an hour for fans. And it wasn't that we loved him because of his accomplishments. We loved him because of what we knew he could accomplish if they just gave him a chance. That was the Dolph Ziggler cult that he created, that we knew what he's capable of, and they never gave him to us to the degree that we felt like they should have gave him to us. So Dolph Ziggler is cool for lots of reasons. So I mean, I could gush and tell you about why Dolph Ziggler is the coolest cat for the next 2 hours if I wanted to.
One thing I remember, one of his gimmicks later on was where he would come out to no music. Remember that?
I didn't like that, but
it kind of reminds me of like Sean Lost His Smile type of vibe.
It was definitely that. It was definitely a Sean Lost His Smile situation. Did you ever catch his match with Goldberg at SummerSlam 2019?
Yeah, when he literally got speared to oblivion. Yeah.
I don't know if there's any. Are you a SpongeBobber?
Yeah.
Okay. Do you know the episode of the Sea Bear where the Sea Bear just keeps coming back and destroys Squidward? And Squidward keeps getting up, and the Sea Bear just comes in and mauls Squidward again. That's what that was. And look, all of us up to that point were starting to slowly get sick of Goldberg, and Dolph Ziggler just knew, okay, what am I good at? I'm good at making myself look like I just got run over by an 18-wheeler. Let's make Goldberg that 18-wheeler. And it was one of the best matches of that entire SummerSlam.
That's what I mean. He's like that grease. He makes everyone look really good in the big system, the big machine. And that's the thing about him is maybe him going away for a while, maybe his Royal Rumble comeback would be amazing. And you were right. You know, that when he gets handed the baton to carry, just to be maybe a transitional champion or to be able to give someone the shine, he does it. You know.
Yeah.
But it's exciting to see is that what does he do when he does have the baton, where he is like a main star who could bring in people to the show, like an AEW, or maybe he goes to New Japan. You never know where he could go. I mean, he could wrestle anywhere. He's that great.
100%. He's going to be just fine. You know what else is cool and who else is cool? We have Mace and Mansoor. My dude, these guys, let me tell you right now, if you are not tuning in to Mace and Mansoor, get in early. Diamond hands, baby. These guys are going to be huge on Twitch now that they are allowed to be themselves, to be, I guess, quote, unfiltered. These guys are absolutely hilarious. And it just, dude, why didn't they allow them to have this personality and this type of chemistry on television? Because I think they are money. That you can tell, you know, the way that they stream on Twitch together, that they have a charisma and an ability to work the crowd. Because you had mentioned, like, Twitch streaming is kind of like being a wrestler in that you're working the crowd. Obviously, you're not doing all of the amazing physical feats that they're doing, but ultimately you're working a crowd. And to me, I have to say this, out of all of the wrestlers that I've watched on Twitch, I have them in the top tier. I really do have them in the top tier in terms of some of the most entertaining streamers, content creators that I've seen come out of the WWE. And it just, it hurts me that I never really got to see this level of personality on television. We got to see their creativity in the Maximum Male Models, and they took that thing and they ran with it. And I thought that they did a fantastic job. I was one of the few people that was one of I was so over on the models. I'm like, I love how ridiculous this is. Did you ever see their Pure Water Life commercial that they did?
No, I haven't. No.
Dude, it was just a simple ad integration for the WWE for a water bottle, and they're just drenching themselves with water, being male models with it. Like we have so many flashes of brilliance from them, and I wish they had ran with it more. But on Twitch, I'm telling you, go check them out. I'm going to put their link in the description because I'm highly entertained by them. And I'm somebody that bounces from Twitch stream to Twitch stream, you know, just to give people the lurk here or there. But I was actively watching these two guys. They are fantastic.
Well, they've been doing something interesting is they've been posting a lot of their pitches that they've been doing to creative. And it's an interesting thing to see how wrestlers do have that input and power, and they do have that drive and passion to submit their own gimmicks and their own vignettes to get a gimmick over. It reminds me when Austin Creed, aka Xavier Woods, showed a little bit what he used to do when he was in OVW, I believe, right? Was that the thing before the NXT?
It might have been Florida Championship Wrestling at the time.
Right. Yeah.
I'm mixing up the timelines.
Right. So before he was while he was down there in developmental, basically, he would submit so many different kind of gimmicks, and it would be different promos or different kind of. For those of you who don't know what a vignette is, it's like just a little video package. And one of them that was most interesting for Mace and Mansoor was a Pulp Fiction type of cleaner situation where there were fixers and they dressed in the Pulp Fiction and they shot a vignette themselves, and they did everything. They probably threw down their own money to trying to get this gimmick over with creative. I feel that sometimes the 2 to 3 brands, sometimes a gimmick like that is more of a job gimmick, like that back in the day where, hey man, we're big dudes. Hey, you're a farmer gimmick. That is your gimmick, and you just walk out in farmer clothes. Yeah, that's what you're gonna do.
The Repo Man,
right? The Repo Man, the Brooklyn Brawler, right? So there's so many of those kind of throwback gimmicks, and it would have been interesting to see if there is a tag team that could do that, like the Fixer, like a new modern APA type of situation where they're just wrestlers for hire. I just feel that Mason Mansoor, what does well for them is that they could continue to keep picking at it and keep doing chip damage, and eventually they'll break through somewhere. And if they become big somewhere else, they could come back into the WWE. We've seen it time and time again. And we know that they have that creativity. And I just hope they stick together wherever they go.
I would love to see them together. Yeah, they've got this je ne sais quoi, this chemistry that that I think is only achievable when you're genuine friends. And I could just tell that they are. I cannot wait to see what they do next. When I saw the list of releases, I had my guys on who I wanted to keep an eye on. I had the Dolph Zigglers, the Alis, etc., the Top Dollars of the world. I'm like, I want to know what they're gonna do next. And it was these Twitch streams that made me now want to know. I need to have my finger on the pulse of what Mace and Mansoor are doing. So if anything, those other wrestlers that were released that are trying to make a name for themselves, I know that there were some up and comers in NXT. I think you need to take notes from Mace and Mansoor and make yourself known over the next 3 months. That all you can really do is Twitch stream and make YouTube videos. I think they are a great example of how to get yourself over with the audience, so that we care where you're going to go next, because I am fully invested as to where they're going to go next.
I agree. This is the time where your name's the most and all over the internet, and they are hot right now with everything that they're doing. And I hope that whatever they do doesn't hurt their chances of coming back. Like maybe they reveal something they shouldn't. And Rick Boogs is out there kind of doing that a little bit. If you don't know about that, where he's posting on his YouTube where he's going to do a gym tour. One of those wrestlers as well, who is part of the release, but he said, I don't know if you know this, but he was like, it wasn't Vince's the reason why I left. I was a Vince guy type of thing. And he was being very cryptic about it, but not to dip too much into that. I'm simply saying, like, for all of these releases, this is the time for you to show the world, like you said, what you can do best and what you can offer so you can land somewhere else and we could follow you.
Yeah. I mentioned Top Dollah, AJ Francis. Did you see his music video go viral on Twitter?
Dude, it has over I don't know, God knows how many, a million views close, right? It's up there.
Yeah, that video is going wild, and now I'm wondering why wasn't this released when he was in the WWE? But I think I know why.
I could tell you why. I mean, what I love about AJ Francis, aka Top Dollah, is that he's a throwback to hip hop in the 90s. So he has that style, he has that distinct eye. And if you're never on X or on Twitter, Top Dollah has been posting videos sporadically every now and then with Hit Row, and he does awesome raps to a variety of different 90s beats, and he kind of has a mixture of kind of like Big Pun, a little bit of Big Papa, a little bit of Nas. He has all those kinds of styles blended into one, and this is just a great case of he has tremendous talent, but WWE doesn't have a spot for him, or they don't know what to do with this skill that he has, because wrestlers with rapping gimmicks is not new to WWE. It's currently thriving in AEW with the Acclaim. I just feel that creative was just like, we don't know what to do with you, bro.
Yeah.
And then when he accidentally made that botch, they were like, we'll just lean into that, and that didn't really do good for him. And I remember hearing, you were telling me, Santi, that he was pitching a feud with Michael Cole at one point. I think that would have been nice to see.
Yeah, I saw that on his Twitch. Again, on Twitch. And AJ Francis, unironically, really good at Fall Guys. Really, I was watching him play Fall Guys, and this man is making zero mistakes. Also very good at the new FIFA or EAFC game. Like, this man's a gamer. This man's MLG.
He is fantastic. And I think what really works about Top Dollar is that he has that drive as well. Like, the wrestlers that are being released, Dolph Ziggler, we all know they have that drive to land somewhere else. And I mean, I've heard there's rumbling, Santi, that Top Dollar wants to fight you, like legit fight you, brother. I don't know what you did.
I don't know what I did either.
I think your mouth has wrote a check. I don't think your body could cash, brother.
Oh, buddy. I mean, my body can't cash it, but if I'm doing it, I think it'll be a legitimate check that I can actually physically cash. So,
no.
Yeah, who knows? Maybe it's in the rumblings. A little boxing bout between AJ Francis and Santi Zab. I don't know, man. I think y'all are gonna be surprised.
For those of you who don't know, Santi went into he rated him on Twitch, which is what you would send your audience over to their audience as a way to, put him over, give him the rub.
Give him the Santi rub.
Give him the Santi rub. And this man, right before he said, I want to challenge AJ Francis into a boxing fight. I have some boxing experience. And AJ Francis is like, okay.
Yeah, he took me up on it.
And I'm like, dude, AJ is going to want some of that spotlight right now. You better be careful. So
you know what made me go from like I don't know, like that. It made me go from like, oh, this will be fun, to, oh no, I have made a great mistake, when he's like, oh yeah, when I like sparred with Baron Corbin and Bobby Lashley, I'm like, oh my God.
A Golden Gloves boxer, by the way, in Baron Corbin. And a legit Olympic boxer style quality, sparring with him, and I could just see Santi go like, never mind, I'm out.
Hey, I'm not out. Hey, like hey, look, it's a win-win situation for me.
Podcast, go knock yourself out, brother.
Look, if I lose, what does that do for me? I was already the podcaster that sits for 12 hours a day. If anything, it gives me something to talk about. And what does he get? He gets nothing. He beat up the podcaster. That does nothing for him. But if I win, if I win, I'm going to be on every podcast like, yo, tell us about beating up AJ Francis. I mean, again, the chances are slim, but man, that would be a life changer. That would be a life changer. What if? All I'm saying is what if? Emma and Paige maybe doing a little bit, because they were business. Yeah, they may be getting in business, because they were the two that really kicked off the women's evolution. A lot of people credit those two from their great work in NXT, and then bringing over that work rate and that style of wrestling that was very different from the Diva style at the time to the main roster. So a lot of people credit Emma versus Paige's feud in NXT as the catalyst for what we have today in women's wrestling. And we saw Paige, aka Saraya from AEW, maybe planting the seeds of wanting to bring over her buddy Emma, or Nemesis Emma. I'm not sure what they are, over at AEW.
Like a simple little reply, little quote tweet, for a little quote post, repost, whatever they call it these days. I just feel bad for Emma, considering that literally an hour before she got the call, she was very excited that they were having an Elimination Chamber in her home country, in Perth. And she was like, I don't know what I got to do, but I'm going to be involved in this. And then ring, unfortunately, you got released. I mean, Emma is always one of those, I think her comedy gimmick kind of slowed down her prominence in the ring. I mean, remember she had the
dance. That was so silly. It's a shame, especially because there's a lot of people like me at that time that knew what she was, she was from NXT. Yeah.
Right. And then I liked her Ray-Ban sunglasses cop gimmick with the short gloves.
I love that.
Loved it. And it's just one of those situations as well. It's like, there's room for you, but we don't know where to put you, type of thing. And that's what's the unfortunate like that's the hard part about wrestling, y'all, is that there's always people coming up and there's always people holding on to their spots. And then if you're in the middle, or if you just fall off to the weight side, you get injured, like Rick Boogs, who's out for the whole year. It's unfortunately in the business that is wrestling, but we, the fans, can keep talking about these wrestlers and keep them in the zeitgeist so that we could help them. So that's what we can do. We could help them right now in their time of need. Anything that they do, you could retweet, repost, interact with them. Go to their Twitch chats, be cool about it, and just tell them how much you love their work.
Yeah, absolutely. And
Emma is a cook. Emma has been like,
really?
I remember at one point Emma was posting like cooking tutorials. So Emma, like I said, one of these wrestlers they're all charismatic. And it kind of, I hate, this is a weird thing, but ride with me here for a second here. If you can make it in the WWE, you could do whatever you want. And it's like, if you're a very, like, you heard of these very popular celebrities, and they're like, Brad Pitt was at McDonald's at one point, Nate Shot was at McDonald's at one point. If you could work in a kind of like a corporate place like McDonald's and WWE, you could take that and make it somewhere else.
Hey, I was once a Target employee. I'm just saying. I think there's big
Target
things.
City, baby.
Yeah. I worked the back room of Target. They were keeping me in the back in catering until the one day I got the push to electronics. And man, I really took and ran with that opportunity. I grabbed that brass ring in electronics when the Wii U came out. And man, I was one of the best.
The red brand.
So you mentioned the Elimination Chamber. And I have to talk about the hilarious first world problems that us Americans and Canadians have been whining about on Twitter. Like, oh no, I have to get up at 6 a.m. for Elimination Chamber. And meanwhile, I'm just seeing all the Germans, all the British, the Filipino viewers, Australian viewers. They are that meme of James Franco about to get hung being like, first time. Like, how can we possibly complain that one show of the year we have to get up a little bit early, when every single episode of Monday Night Raw and SmackDown, these folks from other continents across the world are having to stay up till 4, 5, 6 a.m. in the morning? Like, come on, folks. We're being a little bit ungrateful here. We're being a little bit too entitled.
It reminds me when I moved to the West Coast, and then I had to get used to NFL games being on at 10 a.m.
Oh,
yeah. So you just go like, all right, you just adjust. But the hardest part was when your team was not on national TV and you had to go to like a sports bar at 10 a.m. It felt weird. Weird.
Yeah, I didn't even think of that.
Going to the sports bar at 10 a.m.
Yeah, I didn't even think of that. I guess it sounds like that was maybe at a time when we didn't have streaming services. Yeah. I don't know in the United States, but in Canada, DAZN has the NFL right, so we just rock with DAZN here. But yeah, or like when they're in London and you have your fantasy team and you think you just have to set it at 1 p.m. and then you get up and like 3 of your players played in London. You're like, no.
You gotta get rid of time zones. That's what we're trying to do. Get rid of them.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, we don't need them.
Time.
Universal time across the board. I love it. That's the way it should be. All right. I like it. This is what we should do. Grand Meridian time. Let's just call it that.
Let's do it.
Yes. Dom on Raw. Let's just talk Raw in general, because we will get into SmackDown. Folks, I want to remind you that although we are going to be talking here about Raw and SmackDown, you're going to get far more in-depth reviews and a far more in-depth conversation about every single show exclusively over on Patreon, patreon.com/SantiZap. We did a SmackDown review. I did the Raw review, and I think that you're going to like it. They're substantial videos. Like, they aren't just like 5 minutes long. Sometimes they go an hour, sometimes, 40, 45 minutes. So like, it's way more content. We go into a lot more detail. But you're still going to get a little bit of that taste here. Again, patreon.com/SantiZap. Monday Night Raw was fantastic. And look, some people are like, Santi, you're too negative sometimes. When a show is bad, you're too quick to jump. Look, this is what a good show looks like. And for you to appreciate what a good show looks like, I need to tell you what bad shows look like. All right, I'm starting to take the Tobin Bell Saw 10 approach of you need to appreciate life. You need to appreciate good episodes of Raw. I want to play a game, and that game is that Dom had an amazing match, potentially one of his best matches of his entire career, with the deadbeat cosplayer Dragon Lee. What a match.
Well, one thing I want to ask you though, I mean, I do agree with you. That was Dom's best match that I've seen probably ever. What is Dominic Mysterio's ceiling? Where can he go? Is he gonna go as high as Ray and Eddie, or is he gonna be like? And not saying Chavo is lower. I mean, I see him right now. His ceiling at the progress that he's making could be like a good Chavo Guerrero, right? Someone who could always put on a great match eventually, and someone who could always get the heat wherever he is. But if he continues to progress exponentially like he's been since the beginning, since joining Judgment Day, I do see him reaching those Eddie and Ray heights, and he could definitely carry the torch of the legacy of Mysterio and the Guerreros at the same time, which I think, if you were to ask me when Dominic first showed up, not when he was a kid, but when he started pairing up with Ray, is he could be the next torch holder for the Guerrero and Mysterio family? I would say no way. But now he's definitely putting together the outside ring stuff, in-ring stuff. He just has this weird swagger about him because, you know, his mohawk's fantastic, dude.
Yeah.
He just looks great. And everything in his ring gear is
He's so
awesome.
greasy. I love it.
Yeah. And his ring gear is awesome. The white boots that he has is awesome. I think we're finally seeing the maturation of Dominic Mysterio before our eyes. And it's really cool to see him progressing. There's no setbacks with him so far. And what's interesting is people will give him a negative mark is that the WWE is manipulating his microphone, which is like, take off your tinfoil hat for a second. Let that moment have fun.
Yeah.
Everybody that's in the crowd will tell you they boo him like loudly, and it's a great way to mask his promo work that it's developing. And I love how he just mispronounces Cállate.
Yeah.
Cállate. It's just so hilarious. It's just like
Soy un campeón.
Yeah. It's just so annoying. And for him to be in Ontario, California, it's like perfect for that. And that match with Dragon Lee, fantastic. And the concern with luchadors in WWE, I mean, we could name so many since Sin Cara. Nothing happens with them. I mean, you had Lucha, right? All those kind of Kalisto, and really nothing happens. I mean, hopefully Dragon Lee can be that guy. He has a little bit of a weight to him, like he has some little bit thickness to him.
Yeah,
so I think he stands out as a luchador wrestler. And his moveset is really clean. It's nothing like El Vikino or type of vibe, or he's nothing like
he's not
Commander.
like a Ray Phoenix. He's not like this master of the ropes or anything like that.
No, but what it works is he's very creative.
Mm-hmm.
Like the spot that they did where he did the Hurricanrana from the turnbuckle on the apron to the outside. Awesome spot. And it looks super safe.
Yeah.
And that's what I like. For people to understand, where Lucha Libre, when it's on its purest form, it is acrobatic and super safe at the same time.
Absolutely.
Like even the most death-defying things that you see them do, the other wrestler is really safe. And the chemistry between Dom and Dragon Lee, I think could carry a good way. I'm just hoping that when Dragon Lee speaks, it doesn't go off that's when most of these luchadors go off the rails in the WWE. So far, best match for Dominic Mysterio.
Yeah, a lot of people are calling for, because a lot of people who are more casual, that was their first time seeing Dragon Lee. Like, we need Dragon Lee in the main roster. I'm telling you, no. We just let him work in NXT. He needs work on the microphone. English is not his first language.
And that's hard.
It's hard. Let him be in NXT where he can cut promos in front of 500 people instead of tossing him out to the Sharks in front of 6, 7, 10,000 people. They're doing a good job, and I love these breadcrumbs. And I mean, that wasn't a breadcrumb. That was a full blown bread loaf that they're giving us to make us want to go watch NXT. Right? We had the teases of Becky Lynch in there carrying the NXT title. This match was fantastic. You had asked a question a little bit earlier, like, where do I see his ceiling at? And I think
Dominic.
Dominic Mysterio. In terms of in-ring, like, he's continuously improving, but I think in terms of character work, I think he's already past Chavo Guerrero. I've never seen Chavo get this much heat, be this over, get this much TV time. I think he's already surpassed Chavo Guerrero in that regard. Not quite in the ring, because Chavo was super clean. Super clean. Go watch his Ruthless Aggression Cruiserweight era days. So good. But Dominic is 26. he still has so much time left, and they clearly have him in this expedited ×2 hyperbolic time chamber training because he's working both Raw, house shows, sometimes SmackDown, and NXT. Like, I don't think that there is a wrestler on the main roster having to do as much work at the moment as Dominic Mysterio, and I think that is clearly evident in his improvement in the ring, in the way that he handles himself, the way that he's working the crowd. He is improving in every single regard. If he continues this level of trajectory, I mean, I never saw Eddie get this much heat when he was a heel. I never saw Eddie get this much heat when he was a heel. I still think Eddie was a better character, but I'm just saying, in terms of crowd reaction as a heel, I never saw Eddie get this level of heat and this level of crowd reaction. So I think at the moment, you ask what his ceiling is, I think it's the sky. I think it really is the sky. So long as they continue this fast yet somehow patient approach at the same time that they're doing with him, I think, call me wild. Call me crazy, Sancho. Hear me out, Sancho.
I'm hearing you out.
He's 26. I think that in his 30s, I could see him being a world champion. I could see him being a world champion, not just because of how good he's getting in the ring, but like obviously like with 5, 6, 7, 8 more years of experience, I could see him obviously continuing to improve.
Before 30 or after 30?
After 30. I don't see him being a world champion in his 20s, but I think in his 30s, I see absolutely a world champion right here. Again, in terms of his improvement, his legacy will help. Absolutely. Being legacy will always help. But dude, he's just so good at what he's doing right now. He can almost do no wrong right now. He can almost do no wrong. Every time he's on screen, it is an absolute treat. And before it was, it's funny to boo Dom. It's right. Funny backstage segments. Yeah, it's funny. He's the Pulp Fiction gimp to Mommy Rhea Ripley. But now we want his matches as well, and that was not the case 6 months ago. So we're seeing such great improvement here. Could you make the argument that Dragon Lee carried this because he's one of the best luchadors on the planet at the moment? Sure, but it takes 2 to tango.
Yep. And I think Rhea Ripley being absent from television due to is it injury? But her being gone is working out for the men of Damian, Finn, and Dominic really well.
Yeah. So let's move on to another bit of Monday Night Raw. I like the idea of just calling things cool with the name of our podcast. That's right. But Kofi Kingston is cool. Two back-to-back weeks where he's putting on amazing matches. I think it'd be a fair statement to say that he's the workhorse of Monday Night Raw right now. Last week with Ivar of the Viking Raiders, this week with Drew McIntyre, both of them matches that went over 15 minutes, both of them matches that were, critically well received by the audience. Kofi Kingston is cool.
I feel what is also cool is Drew's entire storyline is so fantastic. This whole notion of like, hey, you are him and Xavier Woods and Kofi and Xavier saying, you are a face, basically. You're a good guy. You don't turn your back when someone is getting beaten down in the ring. You don't do that. And they called them out on that. And for Drew to do it again, I find that very fascinating. It's not Drew's like not a straight up heel. He's not doing it for a heel reason. He had a valid reason when he was talking to Miz, and that great promo segment as well with Miz and Drew and Kofi and Xavier, where it's like, shut up, Miz. All that
so
kind of
good.
stuff. It was so good, and I think I agree. Kofi will definitely move up the new heat order, considering that they are doing so well with what they had. And what I like about this entire storyline is that it started off with a simple backstage segment between Xavier and Drew, and Xavier calling him out, and Xavier overstepping the line a little bit in that one promo they had, the segment they have each other. And then I'm just enjoying this whole entire thing. I'm not bored of it. I think it's fantastic to see Kofi getting in some solid work and showing his athleticism. And the selling, dude, that Claymore that he took against Drew last night was, oh my goodness. That looked like it would hit like flush. And I think what was really working as well in this entire thing is Xavier Woods kind of using Francesca again. I can't remember the last time I've heard Francesca during a match. and him returning back
the
to
trombone. I was like, who's Francesco? That's right. Sorry, that's me.
Boo. Yeah.
Boo.
So like, I feel like Xavier Woods and Kofi kind of returning to the old New Day tactics, working really well, and it's just phenomenal. You're right, and Kofi is cool. I don't think they're gonna give him another run, but he's performing really well as this story piece for Drew McIntyre. Like, where is Drew going? Does Drew go full heel, or does he get like a moment of clarity and save them? I mean, some great work. That's why I think this Raw was really solid. I feel like every storyline had like a, oh, I cannot wait to see what happens next type vibe. But we could talk about Nia in a bit.
Yeah. I want to mention one thing. I think it was one of our SmackDown reviews. Something that we did for Patreon, where something that I had mentioned was that something that's very different from this era of wrestling under Triple H versus the Vince McMahon era is that there is a desire to actually acknowledge things that have happened in the past and use them into current storylines. Under Vince McMahon, storylines were very much in the present. Whatever is happening right now, I don't care that you two had a blood feud. You guys are now best friends. We do not acknowledge what happened in the past.
Right.
Now, that is not the case. And, it's very easy for the babyface to say, Drew, how dare you walk away? You're one of us. You're one of the good guys. That's very formulaic Vince McMahon era. But then Drew McIntyre says, don't you remember what they did to you, Xavier Woods? Don't you remember when they took your crown? Don't you remember when they humiliated you? All of the times that Jay and Jimmy beat you down? That's not normal. That is new age WWE stuff where they actually acknowledge things that have happened in the past and use them to elevate storylines today. And I love this because I've always said when they don't acknowledge the past, like these obvious, very, very obvious things that have happened, for example, Johnny Gargano and Ciampa teaming them up when they had just come out of a blood feud in NXT a few years ago, that was ridiculous. It makes the smart fan, the ones that are in the know, that watch everything, that remember things, feel like you're treating me like an idiot. You're treated like you don't think that I remember what happened 5 weeks ago when X dude beat down X dude and now they're best friends, now they're tag teams without any sort of like storyline reason as to why they came together. No, they should hate each other. So I love the acknowledgement of things that have happened in the past in today's wrestling to elevate storylines today, as opposed to just living in the moment now and creating storylines that are in a vacuum without acknowledging, the greater WWE multiverse, if we want to call it that.
And that is ringing true with the KOs and Sami Zayn and Bloodline and things of that sort. And at the same time, the reason for you may be wondering, why is Drew so have this hate towards the Bloodline in Clash of the Champions, at the Clash at the Castle, right? That should have been his time to win against Roman. It was right there, prime for the picking. That would have been the biggest pop for Drew's career, considering that he did win in an empty stadium.
Sure. You also wanted to gush a little bit about Bronson and Otis just making meat sandwiches for everyone. It was just a butcher, man. It was just, all right, let's go to the deli. Let's go get some meat. Because my goodness, what a meat slapping fest that was.
Shoot, shout out to Wade Barrett for putting that over, right, on the commentary. I for those of you who don't know, I am watching and reviewing all the Survivor Series for our Patreon, and it's called the List of 1,000 Pay-Per-Views, and where I'm going to rank all the Survivor Series. And at the early on, they have Gorilla Monsoon and Jesse Ventura on the 1s and 2s calling the matches. And I think Wade Barrett is kind of approaching that area of Jesse Ventura a little bit.
A little bit. Wade
Barrett is really good, and I love the chemistry between him and Michael Cole, so much so more than the SmackDown trio that they have cooking over there, because I think like Michael Cole's is there just for a safety net. I don't know. Really weird stuff that's happening on SmackDown. But back to Bronson Reed and Otis. Yes, everybody, it does suck that Alpha Academy is reverting back to their comedic thing. We saw that in the backstage segment where Chad Gable said Seuss, and he hasn't done that in a long time in a segment. And but I'm kind of happy that it's okay for that's where Chad is. That's where he is, right? It's okay because it was working well. It provided a good comedic levity to Raw, and it gave them something to do as well, rather than always being, I'm going to here to win the belt. There's always wrestlers that are good for, like, I'm going to chase a belt, or I am the champion, but there's wrestlers that are good for just a good comedic pop. Yeah, we got to put that aside for now. I know people still believe Chad Gable's still in the running, and Chad said that himself. He's like, I still got my eye on the gold, and I'm still going to come after you, Gunther, and yada, yada, yada. But back to Bronson Reed. I have this big belief that Bronson Reed, and I told you this during your live, is that Bronson Reed is being built up for Perth. For the Elimination Chamber, Bronson Reed is from the Australian region. That would be one of those moments. It reminds me of having Damian Priest have a good match in Puerto Rico for Backlash. That same thing with Drew McIntyre and Sheamus over there in the UK area, right? At Clash. So those are the things that I predict that they're kind of getting Bronson Reed ready for, so he can have a big pop-off moment. And like you mentioned, he does really well in the Elimination Chamber. That dude's a little meat monster walking around and causing chaos. And I think they're going to set him up for a moment to where, let's say if Roman's in an Elimination Chamber, right? I think he's going to have a moment where he could almost beat Roman and get that big mega pop and get that crowd really, really white hot for the Elimination Chamber in Perth.
You think that Roman is in an Elimination Chamber match? Because I was thinking that the men's Elimination Chamber match was going to be for the IC title. That's what I was feeling.
You could see that too. Yeah. Just to give you guys an interesting kind of like a nugget regarding the list of 1,000 pay-per-views, the first Survivor Series match was basically the Honky Tonk Man versus the face faction with Macho Man. But everybody that was on the faces was contenders for Honky Tonk Man's belt. So I definitely do see that where all the intercontinental people, like we see Otis, Bronson Reed, Chad Gable, Bronson Reed, maybe
Ciampa.
Ivar, right? Or Ciampa, right? All of them with Gunther. So that would be a very, very interesting Elimination Chamber. And we could see a proper build up to that, but that means Gunther has to hold that belt all the way up to that point.
Yeah, and I wouldn't hate it. I haven't hated it so far. And unlike Roman Reigns, we see him regularly defended. So if he is defending the thing and he's winning often, I'm okay with that. You know what I just don't love these days is a champion holding it for so long without defending him, for like 300 days in between. That sucks. That I don't love. Yeah. Nia Jaxx did a promo. It was definitely a promo. I'm not gonna say that it was bad. I'm not gonna say it was good.
They were trying to give her the Tony Schiavone promo with the commentator with Michael Cole, the Michael Cole rub. If you're gonna have Michael Cole out there kind of lead it, let Michael Cole lead it, or like let her shove Michael Cole down or something, right? Michael Cole take a bump for crying out loud. I think Nia is best in action, in moving and doing things and cutting promos mid-fight. She kind of reminds me of early on Roman when they feed her lines and Roman could have remember when Roman was saying suffering succotash, and Roman was saying the heel stuff, but you didn't believe that Roman believed the heel stuff, right?
Yeah,
it wasn't until the Thunderdome where Roman started to understand who he is as a heel and cut promos while fighting. That made you like Roman as a heel, or understand that he's a bad dude. If Nia Jax could implement that, I would think that's her strong suit more so than her sitting in the ring with a microphone.
Yeah, I mean, just like wrestling is cool, where we went on YouTube and we squashed it, and then we went on Patreon and we squashed it, and then audio services and we squashed it. Like that was more or less her promo right there. But you were thinking that we're setting up potentially a little bit of a surprise here. Why don't you tell the world? Hear him out, folks. Hear him out.
Hear me out. WIC. There's the whole promo is talking about how nobody is good enough for Nia Jax, and she squashes everybody. Everybody. They're not going to feed Becky. They're not going to feed Charlotte. They're not going to give her Asuka. They're not going to give her any of them. She's going to be the baddest chick in the room for Monday Night Raw until, my friends, Jade Cargill's music hits and comes out. And I'm telling you, Santi, that's the one that she's not going to squash. And I'm telling you, Santi, she's going to give her a body slam that will be the likes of Hogan and Andre. The crowd will go crazy. Everybody hates Nia Jax. And if she comes out here and Jade Cargill maybe does, I don't know, a Ultimate Warrior press slam, who knows, bro? You never know. Jade could do it.
We talked about these comparisons, Sancho. I already slapped your hand.
And Hogan, baby.
I already slapped your hand for mentioning Andre and Hogan on Discord when we were talking together. But you had to bring in Ultimate Warrior as well. These comparisons of yours, man.
Dude, Jade is a phenomenal athlete. And if they could do an overhead spot It'd be amazing.
It would be wild.
Amazing.
It'd be.
But I'm telling you, it just sounds like they're setting up with Jade because she's kind of saying that she squashed everybody, and she's the one that everyone's afraid of, and the locker room's terrible, right? They literally fed her Zoe Starks, and Zoe Stark did she got squashed. I don't know, dude. Zoe's went up there and said, "Do something," and she got pie faced. And I'm like, I don't know, man. You're cutting Zoe Stark in half there. Is it Starks or Stark?
It's Stark. Right? It's singular.
Okay. Zoe Stark. So you're literally cutting her in half with just being it would kind of remind me, I don't know, correct me if I'm wrong, and maybe you could remember the wrestlers where there's it was with Goldberg or somebody, and they shoved Drew. Remember when Drew got shoved and he went right down?
Oh yes, yeah.
Right? Remember that? And I was like, oh no, Drew, you're not supposed to fall, dude. But he got shoved and he fell right on his rear end, and that's what I feel like with Zoe. But regardless, Jade's coming, and Jade's coming for Nia. Instant face.
Well, I was telling you, if she comes in and immediately goes after Nia, she becomes the biggest baby face in the entire company, because that's how much heat Nia Jax has with the audience, whether it's go away heat or regular heat, whatever you want to call it. I don't want to get into that. If you're the one that's there to take out Nia Jax, you are automatically going to be in the good books with the audience, which is probably what. That's a good thing. That's exactly what WWE is looking for, right? They're trying to set up Nia Jax to be this irresistible force, the immovable object, the 30 different nicknames that they have for her these days. And it's whoever comes in that's able to take her out that's going to get the massive pop, that's going to get the big push. And it would be a great spot for Jade Cargill.
Here's what happens. Nia's going to go for her bonsai drop, whatever they call it, the Annihilator. Jade Cargill is going to pop up power bomb. What a walking power bomb, Santi. Boo, boo, boom.
Ooh, do we add a little sit down in there, make a little bit more of a Batista bomb?
And then a zesty pin.
Oh, zesty pins always win. I've always said. We talked a little bit about squash, and I'm not talking about the fruit. Is it a vegetable or a fruit? What is a squash?
If it's disgusting, it's a vegetable. That's what I always know.
Okay, all right. Well, whatever it is, John Cena also got squashed, and that was fascinating. That was interesting. I think the fact that there was supposed to be a save but wasn't made it more interesting to me to see John Cena in a position that he hasn't really been in a very, very long time.
Shouts to John Cena. We talked about in depth in the SmackDown review on Patreon that I highly recommend. But remember, at the beginning of Wrestling is Cool, I asked this question, why do we have John Cena? Is he necessary? And Santi got mad at me and everything of that sort. But I am now seeing the error of my ways that John Cena is here to work. He's here to do work. He's not here just to collect a paycheck. He's not here just for the pop. He's not here just to, come out and introduce welcome to Raw and da-da-da-da like Hogan, right? He is here to put people over. He is here to boost storylines. And he definitely was an added necessary boost to the bloodline. And he made Solo and Jimmy do something besides run around and act like buffoons and really make themselves look like the bloodline. We talked about it in the Patreon podcast, is that it reminded me of old school Raw, where the guy Solo doing a body splash in the back.
That was so cool. That was so
electricity and the fake sparks and breaking things, and AJ Stacks going to the hospital. That's old school Raw and Attitude Era stuff that I miss. So yeah, for those of you who don't know, the rumor was that LA Knight was supposed to come out and save John. That could still happen at some point. That could still be the thing that John and LA Knight end up at the Fastlane, which still doesn't have.
Is that what you would want?
Yeah, I'll take it. I'll definitely take it. I think what's I've noticed about LA Knight is the more people, I think this COVID that he has, him keeping him off TV for a while, hear me out. What is going to happen is Payback. You kind of said this, who's going to be John's partner? They signed this match. They had Jimmy and Solo do the contract and all that kind of stuff during the SmackDown. I think John goes, I could take both of you on, and I'll see you at Fastlane. Or my partner will be revealed at Fastlane, and he shows up as a solo 2v1. LA Knight's music hit, big pop, everyone's excited, everyone gets hyped. LA Knight, John Cena teaming up against the Bloodline, and then you're gonna have more and more matches from that. But shout outs to John Cena, dude. You're here to work and you're doing your thing, and you're adding a little bit of some must-see TV for SmackDown now.
I tried to tell you. I tried to tell you, man.
Dude, he's like a fungus. He grows on you, dude. He grows
fungus?
on you.
Are you comparing John Cena to the cordyceps?
Yeah, he takes over. He just takes over and just decimates. But that's what I like about John Cena in this run is that it just feels like he's not there for himself.
Yeah, I was saying in the SmackDown review, patreon.com/SantiZap, is that it just kind of feels like John Cena is seeing things that could be cool to work with and asking, can I work that? Can I do that? I'd love to be able to work with this guy. I'd love to be able to have a segment with Grayson Waller. Would love to have, a segment with Solo Sikoa. Like, I feel like it's just John Cena at a candy store being like, look at all this cool stuff I can do. Can I do this? Can I please do that? And I think it's benefiting everyone on SmackDown, the way that he's going about his business. Because I look, Sancho, you're a snake. I'm just telling you right now, because the only time, you're a snake. I'm calling you out because the only time that you finally decided to see the light about John Cena is when it was announced that it was supposed to be LA Knight making the save. Oh, now when LA Knight is getting the push and getting the giant Cena rub and getting put in main events, all of a sudden Cena is a good thing, right? Don't let him fool you. Wrestling is cool, viewers. Sancho was firmly against Cena, and then all of a sudden when his favorite boy LA Knight got that Cena glaze, all of a sudden Cena's the best. Snake.
By the way, the first wrestling shirt I bought from the WWE officially in a long time. Let me talk to your shirt from LA Knight.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. Io and Asuka had a fantastic match. It was a match that makes you wonder, why isn't this on Fastlane? Because it went over 20 minutes. It had a decent storyline and the stakes were there, the women's title. And, I'm not complaining about this being on free television, but why isn't these types of matches happening on Fastlane? Because I want to talk about Fastlane here before we wrap up the show. But before we do, let's talk about Io and Asuka, because I thought that match was fantastic.
It was great. There was something special about that, and we were saying for the longest time here at the WIC, Wrestling is Cool, is that Io Sky has fell off the wayside for someone to be a champion, not to be featured so heavily. And at the same time, Damage Control was taking a lot of L's, and Bailey was in a weird spot. And of course, Dakota is injured. So there is a weird holding pattern for Damage Control. And for Io Sky to be the champion, opposite side of Rhea Ripley, and Io Sky is supposed to be a fighting champion, we never haven't seen her on TV in a long time. But they brought the noise. Asuka is the GOAT when it comes to women's wrestling, and still, when she's not trapped into this poison mist gimmick and always referring to that, resorting to that, and she's Asuka locking people up, she could put someone over just for their toughness. And it was a fantastic match, multiple segment match, by the way. And it reminded everyone that Io Sky is a champion for a reason and that you should give her a chance. The only holes in Io Sky's game is her promo work, but if she could be more action and be a fighting champion, I think people would be okay with that. Yeah.
And one of the things that we had mentioned is just how multi-layered this match felt. It felt like a lucha match at one point. It felt like Japanese strong style. It felt like the traditional WWE style. And it was like different arcs. And, every time you'd come back from commercial break, they'd give you something else. And I love that sequence at the end where it was like 5 minutes of different attempts at Asuka locks. I felt like that was brilliant. I think that was a brilliant way to demonstrate the grittiness and the gutsiness of the champion Io Sky, who has felt very underutilized, has felt very much second fiddle up until this point. And, they still included Charlotte in this segment, which I don't think that she needed to be in there. But this truly, for once, it felt like Io's moment, not a Bianca Belair or Charlotte Flair moment that Io happened to be a part of.
And the one thing as well is I'm really hoping that Bailey does something, man. I miss Bailey. Bailey was fun. And then I know that she's just been on the wayside here and she has a moment here and there. But Bailey deserves something to do beyond just interfering with matches. She's too great of a wrestler to do that. Yeah,
it's kind of looking like maybe it's going to be her and Charlotte having a feud moving forward, which I would love. I would love. I think that's great. I think that's great. Sorry, one last thing that we didn't mention about Raw that I definitely want to hit on is, dude, it's like this like peaks and valleys with Nakamura. Last week I was like, I was over with it. I was so over with it. And then this week's like, yes, Give us this Nakamura, last man standing Nakamura. Dude, how excited are you for this? Like, to me, before you jump in, this has to be the most vicious Nakamura we ever see. If he comes out with that payback soft style again, I'm done. I am done. We need vicious knee to the back. Nakamura wants to put you out for your entire career, Nakamura. That is what we need. I keep saying Nakamura. People haven't seen him deliver yet at PLEs. They haven't seen him deliver at the big matches on the main roster. I think this one's make or break. I really believe this one is make or break.
That's my only thing. I mean, Nakamura is cool what he's doing, right? He's fantastic. The thing is that he needs to put it in the ring. And what the best part of this entire feud that I'm looking forward to the most, and I wrote this down, is like, I hope Seth loses this match, loses the belt, and loses the gimmick that he's working right now. Because after that moment that he had in that Nakamura cut that promo on the video, which I think is a clever way to hide Nakamura promo skills and to not let the audience go, what? Every time he's speaking in Japanese. But Seth cut a promo that reminded me of old Seth. And that is what I want. I want that Seth. You could tell that he changed from this, they're singing my song, man, and I'm doing this, and I'm wearing the glasses. He threw the glasses down, the sunglasses down, which were kind of cool, by the way. But he threw the sunglasses down, and he cut a old school Seth promo, a little long, a little bit. I mean, I got at the point where you were trying to say that you're ready to fight. But that's what I'm hoping, that this match, this feud has only been cooking out of the ring. It needs to cook in the ring. It needs to have the best payoff you can think of. And it's definitely, and that's the only match we have at Fastlane right now that's official.
Yep.
And I'm hoping Damian cashes in.
That's what I was going to ask you. Is this the Damian cash in? Because I don't think that there's a better match stipulation for the Money in the Bank briefcase holder to come out in. It's this one. It's this one.
It's being telegraphed, sure. And I think what's interesting, if Nakamura, I hope Nakamura is not a belt chaser. And I mentioned this before. He reminds me of a Fiend type situation where he's going to test you physically. And if he could test, and mentally, if he could test Seth Rollins and has a chance to win and just like, I'm out, he walks away or something like that. I don't know. I think they could do something really cool in Nakamura, because these animes type, and the reason why we say anime is because they actually did an anime segment for them. If they actually do this continuation of Nakamura, he could be a great like must see. Who is Nakamura going to feud next? Who is Nakamura going to test and have a really strong style Japanese New Japan Pro Wrestling match? And I think that can really happen if they execute it right and don't make him about the gold. Not every wrestler needs to be a champion. That's what I said earlier. Some wrestlers just need to have their own angle, so that way, I mean, Undertaker at WrestleMania never needed to be a championship match. It was just like Undertaker's wrestling at WrestleMania.
Yeah, he was the attraction.
Yes. And I'm not comparing Nakamura and Undertaker.
There goes Sancho with his other comparisons.
No, I'm just saying it doesn't necessarily need to be about the gold, baby.
No, I feel you. And hey, like you said, this is the only properly confirmed match at Payback. They did on Twitter quasi confirm that it's a John Cena handicap match. We know it's not going to be a handicap. 46-year-old John Cena is not going to go out there and have a handicap match with the Bloodline. So yeah, it's super quick here. What the heck with Fastlane? This is not traditional WWE style where they leave booking to the very last minute. This is very AEW, where AEW will have 3 matches 2 days before their PLE, and then all of a sudden they have 15. This seems very AEW to only have one really concrete match at Fastlane to properly build for the less than 2 weeks. Seems a little bit bizarre. And one of the reasons that I mentioned that this could be the case is that I think they're ratings chasing to try and get better deals with these TV rights negotiations that they're going through. Because look at the crazy PLE style matches that we've had on Raw, SmackDown, and NXT recently. We had obviously Gunther versus Chad Gable. We had Raquel versus Rhea Ripley, and an NXT Championship match between Becky and Tiffany Stratton. We just had Asuka Io. We're getting Rey Mysterio versus Santos Escobar for the U.S. title. Yesterday, we just had Dom and Dragon Lee. We had the tag titles on the line. Like, so many big stake matches are happening on TV that frankly, one objectively would just be better on a PLE because there's no commercials, but those big matches I feel like are making WWE scramble to fill out this PLE with matches of substance.
I agree. And I understand that remember we talked about this during the Patreon, is that the Monday Night Raw is competing with 2 Monday Night Football games now. Yeah. So they're doing all that they can to make both of the shows must-see TV. And I do agree that this Fastlane doesn't have anything, but that doesn't mean I'm not going to watch it. I think what's exciting to me is that it doesn't have anything, in a way that it could be something fantastic. They could throw together a card that it becomes much like already. Having John Cena wrestle is must-watch PLE. You don't need anything else beyond that, and it's against the Bloodline. And I feel that every single match that they've been doing now that has been thrown together, it feels, on these, like you mentioned, scrambling, has been solid matches, and it's been some of the best Raws and SmackDown we've had in a long time. So I don't mind Fastlane not having a card.
Slow lane is what it feels like.
Unless I'm going there, right? Unless I'm buying a ticket, I'm going there. But since I already have a subscription, and that's the big difference between AEW, is you have to pay $70 a pop without knowing what you're buying, right? In terms of a pay-per-view. But the PLEs, they could kind of throw it together and they could have like a fun time. My just concern is you don't want it to feel like another Raw or another SmackDown. Yeah. But if you're giving me this kind of quality stuff, I wouldn't mind it, to be honest with you.
I think
I have no fear about it.
My one fear is that this is just not the traditional WWE style. Like, people are like, well, AEW does it and they have amazing shows anyway. That's true, but AEW does it all the time. So I think they're just used to delivering like this.
Well, what my question is, what are you so afraid of that they're not going to have like a storyline driven match? Because they will. Like they will have. Maybe they'll have a Friday or whatever. I mean, they might say there's going to be a Gunther triple threat, and then has Ciampa and Chad, right? And
yeah, but wouldn't that feel a little bit undercooked, like in terms of storyline? Like, I know, like as a match that would be fantastic, that'd be great, but that's where AEW thrives, where they can have a fantastic 10-star match with a terrible storyline that hasn't been properly built, and they can get away with it. What I'm trying to say is that WWE, this is kind of uncharted territory for them. So if they want to play that game, time to play the game. It makes me a little bit concerned that they don't know how to deliver this style of PLE with like where we're almost entirely waiting on amazing in-ring work. Because that triple threat match would be amazing, but WWE fans are used to builds, and this is just different. I'm not saying it could be bad. I'm just saying we've never seen WWE really take this type of approach like AEW.
So who do you like? What brand is this Fastlane? Is it Raw or is it?
Well, there's no branded pay-per-views anymore. Like last Payback felt like a Raw PLE, there was the Miz and LA Knight was in there. Rey Mysterio had a match, that PLE. So there's no brandedness to it, but. You just got to know who's the players, right? They're gonna have definitely. Okay, but who are the players? Like, what match would you have in there? Okay, Judgment Day. What Judgment Day match would you have in there?
Would be for the tag belts. They'll have.
But we just had that twice in 4 weeks. And again, I'm not saying that match would be bad on Fastlane. I'm just saying this is weird. It's weird. They don't usually do that.
Embrace the difference.
I'll embrace it. I'll embrace it.
Open-minded, Santi.
Right?
We'll find out. All your questions will be answered on Friday night. You know what I mean?
Yeah, because every single match that I keep coming down to, it's like, we just saw it. Again, I wouldn't hate seeing it again, but we just saw it. Raquel Rhea.
We have an NXT match could pop up on Fastlane.
Not possible, because we're having NXT PLE the week before. Like, anything is possible. Sure. Okay, Kevin Garnett. Anything is possible.
Yeah, anything is possible. I mean, we could bring back Shaquille O'Neal.
Why not? You know what? Yeah.
Why not? The Rock could come back for Fastlane. There's rumors that The Rock will be in Perth, man. Who knows?
Really think The Rock would come out to Indianapolis? All right? Yeah. Indianapolis?
I'm sorry for our Indianapolis fans. Please subscribe to Patreon.
Oh, man. Yeah, I'm not saying it's going to be bad. Like, I have very high hopes for WWE B-tier pay-per-views. Payback was good. Backlash was good. So they have my trust. I'm just saying it's weird. It's weird that they're going about this. It's all. And weird could be good. Weird could be good.
Come back Friday. Come back Friday in the comments. Let us know on Friday, like Santi, you after SmackDown. Be like, Santi, you're wrong. Okay.
Sancho, we should be wrapping this up. But
we got some time though.
Do we have time for the new heat order?
Always have time for the new heat order.
All right, let's cook through this.
All right, let me go ahead and say, for those of you new here, we have the greatest list of all time. It's called the new heat order, and it's not all about who is doing the best, who's the best of the best in terms of wrestling, who's going to be on Mount Rushmore. Hi, I'm back again.
Sorry, that's my bad.
That's not good. What we're here to do is just, hey, there I go again. Oh, hey, I'm back again.
This is all my fault, 100%. I'm trying to find the old list.
I have the list.
Okay. You have it. Okay.
I am the master of the new heat order. So here is the new heat order that we have going forward. And again, it's not about who's the Mount Rushmore. It's just about who is cooking right now. You know what I mean? Who is firing off cylinders. And on 20th is Kofi Kingston, 19th Jimmy Uso, 18th Dominic, 17th Cody Rhodes, 16th Becky Lynch, 15th Grayson Waller, 14th Gunther, 13th Seth Rollins, 12th Nakamura, 11th Jey Uso, 10th Drew McIntyre, 9 Rhea Ripley, 8 AJ Styles, 7 Street Business, 6 John Cena, 5 Nia Jax, 4th LA Knight, 3 Austin Theory, 2 Pat McAfee, and 1 The Rock. So if you're new, we go through all the orders to determine based on who appears on television. So it's not about you're doing something, but if you haven't appeared on television, you will fall off the new heat order.
Yeah, like The Rock and Pat McAfee out.
Right. So I'm going to go ahead and definitely take that out now. So we're going to start with SmackDown and AJ Styles, who most likely is off of television for a while.
Yeah, I think he's going to be off of television for a while, but man, like I think what he did on SmackDown was very substantial. And buzzworthy for sure.
So he's currently in 8th place above Rhea Ripley, who's off television as well.
Well, we need to remove Rhea Ripley, I would say, from this list.
Yep.
Yeah, that's now 2 back-to-back weeks. While we're at it, Raquel Rodriguez as well.
She's been off the list, but the thing is, like, there hasn't been any kind of reason why. Like, they haven't been saying why Rhea's gone. She's just gone.
I think it's to sell the Nia Jax attack.
Right.
Yeah. I think it's that because they also had Chelsea Green off this week, who has been a perennial appearance every single week. I think it's just to sell the attack.
She was crazy on social media too.
She's so good.
I think I would love a segment with Dominic, like going to the hospital or something with Rhea Ripley and being like, "Mommy," giving her roses, like tease it up a little bit. Yeah, a little bit. All right, so we put that off list. So does AJ stay on at 8 underneath Street Business?
For now, let's keep him there. From now, I think he deserves a high up spot.
All right, John Cena.
John Cena moves up. I think John Cena moves up. Let's have him for the moment take that The Rock spot at number 1.
Oh, number 1.
Yeah, but I don't know. I don't think he's gonna finish at number 1. But let's have him in that spot for now.
All right, he's holding it down. Jimmy Uso, who currently sits at 19th, does he move up now that he has a little bit of an edge in his Ted DiBiase laugh in the backstage segment, sitting at 19?
Put him at 2.
What?
Big jump. Big jump in importance for Jimmy Uso this week.
Beating up John Cena.
Beating up John Cena, like that's like the biggest beatdown probably he's ever laid in terms of leaving like a megastar in the ring like that. His antics of accepting matches, like you said, like his $1 Million Man laugh.
Yeah.
Like he definitely catapulted for me this week. Let's have him right behind John Cena.
All right, where does Solo Sikoa go? Solo is not on this list.
Yeah. Let's. I'll put him at 3 for now, but I think he's gonna be bumped down a few, but he's up there as well.
All right.
I mean that jump off of like whatever that was onto that scaffolding onto I guess all the crew equipment, that was so sick.
So sick indeed. Now we're going down to LWO. We actually had a good tag match in SmackDown with Street Business. We had Santos and Rey doing some good work.
Hey, no disrespect, but again, LWO, when you remove the 2 NPCs, is actually pretty good. So I like what the LWO did this week. I put them at the 12th spot. Yeah,
12th spot.
Yeah.
Above Nakamura or below Nakamura?
Well, for now, above Nakamura, but Nakamura is going to be moving up later.
All right. LWO. Now we have Street Business, who actually got scolded by Bobby Lashley. I love the new angle. I love the new idea.
I loved it.
There's these faces that are now trying to embrace the dark side, and Bobby Lashley's being like a Dark Plagueis type vibe. You know?
Do it.
I never put it together, but that's what he's doing.
Dude, he's Emperor Palpatine right now. Yeah, man, he's over there trying to get them to see the dark side. Do it.
Do it. Do it.
I'm so glad that I just had to say do it and you knew exactly what it was.
Great. All right, where are we putting these boys at?
They're great. I love the angle that they're taking with them. Actually, you know, I mentioned, I don't remember what was the thing that we were talking about, like acknowledging the past. This was it, right? This acknowledging that, hey, I used to be a good guy, and I'm doing bad guy things. This is weird. And it had like this moment of this pause of morality, and I loved it. I loved when Daddy scolded them in the back, you know. Maybe chosen better choice of words there. I love what they did. I'll put them right above the LWO, even though they lost to them. Because
the Street Business is currently above AJ Stacks at 8, so they're at 7.
I below AJ Stacks.
Okay.
Below AJ Stacks for sure. Let's. Who's immediately behind AJ Stacks right now?
Drew McIntyre.
Let's move. Technically, moving them down to right above the LWO. Okay. But I really like what they did this week.
All right. So next up on the list is Asuka, which we kind of gushed over for a second here. Asuka, who's currently not on the list.
Yeah, she's got to be on the list. Where's Charlotte Flair right now?
Charlotte Flair is not on the list. The bottom of the list is the highest women's wrestler would be Nia Jax at 6, but we have Becky Lynch at 16th, and that would be the only women's wrestler on this Heat list.
Yeah, let's move Asuka to the 15th spot, right above Becky Lynch.
All right, that would put her right below Grayson Waller.
Walla bing bong, yeah.
First Indianapolis and our Australian audiences, you're just throwing bones at them.
Is that how they talk every day? Don't they add walla bing bong between everything? No.
No.
Okay.
Io Sky, great match, but I think what keeps her low on the Heat list is like she has a lot of she has to be carried by Damage Control, but if she continues to put on these banger matches, I wouldn't mind just seeing her put on banger matches.
Yeah, I think I'll handcuff her to Asuka right now. Since she won, I'll put her just right above Asuka.
All right. We are vibing. We are moving. Up next is Charlotte Flair, who is just there.
I'm almost considering moving her off of the list entirely.
She wasn't on the list to begin with, but I respect it.
Yeah, I'll keep her off the list.
Damage Control as well. I feel like I'm just going to keep them off.
Keep them off, yeah.
Brawling Brutes, who got a lot of cheers and a lot of pops.
They're over. They are over. At least in that crowd they were. I thought that like you mentioned, I think there were a lot of cheers for them. Unless it was piped in crowd noise. You got me. You fooled me.
Take off that hat. Take off that hat, brother.
I liked it. I still think below Asuka. So let's put them right below Asuka.
All right. That would be above Becky?
Yes.
Okay. Becky, I mean, we're talking about, of course, their appearances on SmackDown and Raw, folks. We're not talking about their work in NXT. Grayson Waller, currently sitting above Io Sky, and
I love that tag team with him in theory. I really think there's something there. Let's that was a big victory for them. Let's put them right above the Brawling Brutes, both him and Theory.
All right, we're gonna put them together. How about that?
Sure, A-Town Down Under.
All right. Town Down Under, and I still think Grayson Waller needs to change his gear. Cody Rhodes. Now we're moving on to Raw.
No, boy. Yes, boy. We need that. How dare you ignore Elton Strong? Hashtag Elton Strong. What is your problem? Come on. No. They're top 10 for me. They are top 10 for me.
Wow, you're that just off of vignettes.
Yeah, dude, it was brilliant. It was everything it needed to be for that tag team. It showcased everything that is good about them. It was fantastic. Hashtag Elton Strong. Get better, man.
Okay, where are you putting them? Above Street Business for you?
Yes. Yeah.
No.
Yes. Yeah. Yes. Boy. Yes.
Okay, how about above LWO? Below Street Business.
Okay, fine. Yeah, because clearly you're not over on them, so I'll meet you in the middle. I'll meet you in the middle.
They have great hair, right? You know what I mean? They have great hair, and I love their hair. Pretty deadly.
Dude, the shake weight workout alone should put them over Street Business.
They should have held on to that shot a little bit longer. They're kind of like going. Ooh,
I would have left the shot of him. He's sweating, so then after the shake weight, he gets splashed with some water. It would have just there would have been so many ways to make that even better, but I still thought it was great.
I told you this during the Patreon podcast, is they definitely remind me of DX, so I definitely see that kind of action from them in the future. So now can I go to Cody Rhodes?
And then this week of more Sancho comparisons. Go on. Yeah, let's go to Cody Rhodes.
The Monday Night Raw, Cody Rhodes opened up the segment. At first, when they announced this, I was like, come on, dude. Again, how many times do you do this with Cody? But dude, the crowd loves Cody still.
I still think it was the weakest part of Raw, that opening segment.
Really? All right. Yeah. Does Cody Rhodes, wait, before I move on from SmackDown, does LA Knight move off his 5th spot in the new Heat order?
Yeah, he wasn't on. I have to follow the rules. I like I said, the new Saw movie's coming out. I'm a big Saw fan. You have to follow the rules. And I want to play a game. LA Knight, you weren't on TV.
Oh.
Has to fall off.
He still talked about.
I get it. Right. I get it, but that's not the point. We're here to what is happening on television, and he wasn't on it.
I want to play a game. Let's go to. Then I took him off. I'm a little bit cried a little bit there.
Yeah, I'm surprised you didn't fight harder.
I can't fight harder. I mean, you're right. The rules are rules.
The rules are rules.
Yeah. The Cody Rhodes is currently he is not on the list. He got pushed out after the SmackDown. So.
Dude, do you think about it? He did nothing on Raw.
Dude, he came out for the save. They're building a new Survivor Series. War Games.
Could be War Games. Yeah. Okay. All right.
But I mean, he's not involved. He's just he's
an auxiliary piece.
Yes.
Yeah. He's just an auxiliary piece. I
would agree with you. I mean, he's still loved. He still gets some pops, but he's not doing anything on his own. And
unlike Jey Uso, who's on his own now. Day one-ish.
All right, Cody, you're off the new Heat order for now. Dominic, currently off. I think
he's on.
He has to jump on.
Yeah, I think he has to jump on.
I think I'm gonna vote. My bidding goes right above, and I need to. We did have. Okay, I'm gonna take off Austin Theory at 4. Mm-hmm. I think he's number 4.
Ooh,
because you talked about him appearing everywhere. I think he's number 4. Now you may say he's getting piped and boozed, but I don't think so. I think he's at number 4.
Okay, I'm not gonna fight it. I will go with the Dominic flow, the flow of his hair to number 4.
Yes.
Yeah.
Up next, Damian Priest, who had some good moment with JD McDonough. I had that one backstage, put him, yelling at him in Spanish, almost broke the set. I saw him threw that chair over.
Dude, he's terrifying.
Fire.
He's absolutely terrifying. Yeah, I mean, both him and Finn have to be top 10 with what they did this week. Obviously, they got lots of screen time as they usually do, and they won the main event for the tag titles. Definitely not Dom level right now, but I'd say at the very minimum above the Street Business or the Hurt Profits.
Okay, I like that. I'm gonna put them together, Finn and Damian, because they put them together as a tag team. And my favorite moment was when Damian was surrounded by all the faces, and he just goes,
"Okay, yeah, bring it."
Okay, I love that. All right,
it was like a great cartoon moment.
It was, and that's what makes wrestling cool, is when it blends that in. JD McDonough not on the list.
Not on the list.
I think he did really well, but it's he's just now, like you mentioned, just on the outside of that engagement. He'll probably take a crazy bump at War Games. Sami Zayn and KO. Well, I'm gonna put these two cats together, but I think KO is really cooking, dude.
KO
awesome. Is working, dude. Yeah. He's working some good things. Where does KO and good old Sami Zayn, the Canadian, duo go?
Yeah, I think I'll put them right below LWO this week.
Okay,
I'm
you're still
kind
not high
of
on them.
I'm
You're
not
not high on them.
No, not that high on them. No.
Is it because of their championship? I think their championship reign did put a kind of like a black eye on their run lately.
I'll just say this. I think my problem with Kevin Owens, Sami Zayn is actually Sami Zayn. I think
Really?
I think he's fantastic, and I think what he's doing with his character works, but I've just never liked Sami Zayn as the what's the word, as the serious guy of the group. He's the what's the term in story terms? The straight guy. And I like when he's a bit goofy, when he is jokey, and he's very much matter of fact now, very intense, and he does a really good job at it. But I just think that a bit more goofiness will add much better backstage dynamics between him and Kevin Owens.
I agree. I mean, I remember the backstage promo where he was like just literally screaming. I'm like, what are you mad about, Sammy?
Yeah.
I know what they were trying to do, and KO's like, I'm tired of talking. I just want to fight. I just feel, you talked about them not forgetting things. I just feel this notion that at any moment Kevin will turn, and I don't think it's going to be justified. I think it's just going to be pulled out just to keep things interesting between KO and Sammy, and they don't need that. I don't know. I feel like their biggest mistake was putting him in a tag team.
It worked for storyline purposes when it did,
Right.
But as a long-term tag team, I don't. Sure, they're fantastic in the ring, but I just don't know how much more legs this has.
Right, and I don't think them winning the belts is going to add to their dynamic anymore, because we already seen what their reign as a tag champion looks like. It looks like nothing.
Yeah. And honestly, it was never about the belts when they won it. It was about beating the Usos.
Bloodline.
It was about fighting the bloodline.
Right.
And now that it's about belts, it's just less interesting.
Right. They should continue dismantling the bloodline in some way, and they're not doing that.
I think they will eventually get there. I think it'll become full circle at some point where we come back to the bloodline with them. But for right now, them as a traditional tag team, it's not clicking with me. Even though they're both so good. They're both so good in the ring. But I don't know. I don't know what it is, man. It's almost like I feel like I'm watching two singles wrestlers sharing the same ring as opposed to two tag teams. Sorry, as opposed to a tag team. It just feels like two individual wrestlers right now.
I think AEW's MJF and Adam Cole are doing it better.
They're
doing that kind of dynamic a little bit better. Going on to Otis, Jey Uso, main event. Jey coming out with the save, coming out with doing. They didn't do that.
No,
they did that.
No, they didn't do this week.
They didn't do it this week.
Yeah, they didn't do it this week. It's just me, Oos.
I feel like Jey didn't do
much this week.
This Raw didn't do much this week, but he had got a pop. Does Jey move off his 8th spot above Finn and Damian?
Hey, if we put Cody Rhodes off of the list because of his very little involvement, Jey Uso basically had the same level of involvement. So I think taking him off is also fair.
Okay, the 8th spot is open. We have Otis.
Otis. Should we just do Alpha Academy?
Yeah,
at this point, because it looks like Chad Gable is not doing his run anymore towards the Intercontinental Championship.
I would say they're top. I don't think they're top 20. Not yet.
Not yet. Not right now. No.
I think we have Bronson Reed.
Bronson Reed moves into the list. That's back-to-back W's. Back-to-back weeks, back-to-back fun matches. I know a lot of people didn't love him beating Chad Gable. I didn't, but doesn't take away from the fact that it was a good performance from Bronson Reed. And I love this meat sandwich making fest today. The Battle of the Kaijus. I loved it. I thought it was great.
Fantastic. Does it put him on the list? I'm down to put him underneath Walla in A-Town, like 20th. Like hold down that 20th.
Sure, let's hold down the 20th spot with Bronson.
He definitely could get booted out here in a second, because we're still going through the Raw. Ludwig Kaiser, no. And Ciampa, I don't think they're there yet. I think it was. I mean, sadly enough, I read that Ciampa had the lowest rating match when he had it with Giovanni. So I mean, I don't know. I mean, this feels like a weird thing because it kind of puts a bad taste in my mouth because of Chad Gable. Like, I like Ciampa.
Yeah.
It was a good match, but I feel like that could have been Chad Gable's
Yeah,
spot.
it's like it's not supposed to be you yet, Ciampa. It's what it feels like right now. No one hates Ciampa. We like Ciampa, and we know Ciampa versus Gunther would be a great match, but everyone is still like, it's supposed to be Gable. It's supposed to be Gable that's supposed to be going through these trials and tribulations to get back to Gunther, and it's not. And again, we like Ciampa, but it's wrong guy, wrong time right now.
Yep, I agree. 100% agree. Coming down to something with Ludwig Kaiser, he's just part of the Imperium. Becky Lynch didn't do much, just held out the belt, and she just stood there on the commentary. I'm not gonna put her on. Did she slide off? She did slide off the list after a while.
Yeah, let's keep her off.
Tegan Knox, a good premiere for her. I wasn't. I mean, you have more history with Tegan.
Yeah.
But putting her against Natalya didn't give me the rub that I was expecting for that. For that shine. I just feel like sometimes in time matches, I would have liked to see her in the sharpshooter.
Yeah.
And then let me see her toughness.
Sure. I think the reason I like the choice to go with Natalya was I feel like this was the WWE saying our bad for putting Natalya last week.
Right.
So let's have Natalya be the stepping stone this week for the one that was supposed to be in that spot last week, the one that you all wanted in Tegan Knox. I know Tegan Knox doesn't really do it for you in terms of a wrestler not yet. I know there's.
I'm open-minded.
You're open-minded. I like Tegan Knox. I think that she's just very injury prone, sadly. So fingers crossed that she stays healthy, because I believe that she has the type of look that the WWE is looking for, right? And she has a history for being a great worker. And she's international, which the WWE always loves.
I'm excited to learn more about her, learn about her.
Yeah, I mean, she's got a title opportunity next week.
I love it. That's what I want. That's what we should have saw.
Yes. Yeah.
A little week delayed. Natalya, I don't think she makes the top 20.
No.
Dragon Lee.
Oh, Dragon Lee's got to be on there.
You think so?
Yeah, we gotta.
I think he goes back down to NXT though, so I think
he will. He will. I know it's a one-off, but hey, our list is weekly. Our list is weekly, and I think
does he boot out Bronson Reed though?
Don't we have some open spots?
Oh, we do, because we put Grayson Waller together. Okay, 16th is open.
Let's put him 16th. I feel comfortable
above
there.
Io Sky?
Well, we can shift things around. I think Io Sky at the 16, Asuka 17, and then
Dragon Lee at 18.
And then Dragon Lee at 18.
Okay. I think it was a great debut. A great exciting moment for him, and at the same time, I'm intrigued.
Yeah. Keep him off the mic for now. Not in front of big audiences. Let him develop in those smaller audiences in NXT.
I think he sold the dastardly thing that Dominic did very well, and it looked like that hurt.
Dude, that's just when he fell crotch first onto the ropes. I'm like, I've never seen anyone sell it like that. Like, that looked devastating.
Exactly. All right, now we have the duo of Nakamura and Seth Rollins. Nakamura sitting at 13th below KO and Sami Zayn.
So Nakamura moves into that open 8th.
Okay, Nakamura goes to 8th. All right, I'm gonna get that going. And that
Seth
will be
moves
below
to where
Drew.
Yeah, I think that Drew.
I'm much more intrigued.
Yeah.
I think because Nakamura has led me down before, so I'm not like really like hot
about
it.
Yeah. And like the Drew stuff is building, is like moving its way up, as opposed to I think the Nakamura, we're at the ceiling, fellas. Yes. We're at the ceiling.
You got to pay it off.
This is the payoff. If it doesn't deliver here, that's not good. It's not good. Meanwhile, the Drew stuff, I still think is moving its way up. I still think that there's a possibility of a heel turn. Maybe he just becomes this guy in the middle that sits in the middle, the anti-hero type vibe. So I'm a lot more intrigued by Drew McIntyre at the moment, but I'm comfortable putting Nakamura in that top 10 still, though.
Seth Rollins?
I think where was Nakamura?
Nakamura is at 8. And then you have him and Damian.
Sorry, but where was he before?
He was right above Seth. So it was 12 and 13 was Seth.
Okay, move Seth 1. Move Seth up 1.
Okay, move Seth up right past KO and Sammy?
Yeah.
Below LWO?
Here's the thing. That's the best LWO has looked in a long time. So I'm probably
almost at cut though, man.
Okay, no, you're right. Let's move LWO down one. And Seth Rollins above LWO. I think maybe I'm just I'm giddy of the fact that I actually cared about the LWO for the first time in a long time, and I think I'm giving them too many extra points there. What?
Mi sangre.
Mi sangre. ¡Cállate! Soy el campeón.
Jeez. All right, we have Nia Jaxx who's at 5th. I'm pretty comfortable keeping her there.
No, I think it goes down a little bit.
Yeah,
I think it goes down a little bit. I still think that she's in the list, but I think we need to find a place to put her down more.
I would put her below. I know Gunther didn't do anything. I'm comfortable putting her above Asuka at 15th.
Sure.
Gunther spot.
Sure.
Because Gunther just sat there and looked at a TV in the wrong way that everybody does.
Yeah, and then yelled at in German.
Yeah. Unfortunately, Zoe Stark got squashed. So we can't have that. The last two we have here is Kofi Kingston.
We top 10 now. Top 10, man. Like below McIntyre if possible.
Oh, I like that. I mean, those guys are cooking together.
Yeah.
And the special
shout out to... we just put New Day? Because storyline wise, I think Xavier is getting himself very involved in this. So
he's doing some good stuff. And I loved his, I think he was rocking like a Bad Dudes version of the New Day shirt. I kind of want, dude. Very, very sick merch. And does Drew move up past AJ Styles? And does he? Okay.
Yeah, I think he's above AJ Styles,
but not above Dominic.
No.
I don't think but he's doing some interesting stuff. Okay. Am I forgetting anyone else out of Raw? I mean, what was the last segment?
I mean, Michael Cole was in the ring.
He's not in the top 20, but am I forgetting anyone else from Raw from last night? What was that end segment?
I can't remember.
It was a good Raw. Can't remember.
It was a good Raw, but like I think we got it all. I think everyone that was involved has been called out upon.
Oh, the end segment was a big brawl, and then in the tag team match.
Yeah, we've done all those guys.
And then it ended with the brawl, and then you're like, oh my god! And then I love it when wrestling goes off air and they're still wrestling.
We haven't seen that in a while.
KO giving a good stunner. I mean, the storyline of setting up Survivor Series War Games is, I would say, a top storyline. But
are we convinced this is Survivor Series? Sorry to cut you off, but
I'm convinced.
Are you convinced? Like I with how much this has been going on over the last couple of weeks, could it be at Fastlane? Because
you're right. You're right.
Yeah, because Survivor Series War Games, like that was War Games isn't married to Survivor Series. That's only ever happened once. And it just so happened to be last year. And sure, it was in the pay-per-view name, but War Games could totally happen at Fastlane.
I wouldn't argue with you. It'd be cool. I mean, they built it very quickly.
Yeah, like look, if the plan is to only have 4 or 5 matches at this PLE, they need something that goes over an hour, and a War Games match is that.
That dude, with the way the bloodline matches go, it would go over.
Yeah, I'm not convinced that this isn't at Fastlane.
Yeah, I mean you're right. We talked about it, and that'd be a bad match. I'd be down for it. I mean, everyone has chemistry with it. And I am now completing, and every time I botch this, I am doing my best. But here is your list for the top 20 new heat order, folks. Starting at 20. Brawling Brutes. A-Town Down Under at 19th. 18th, Dragon Lee. 17th, Io Sky. 16th, Asuka. 15th, Nia Jaxx. 14th, KO and Sami Zayn. 13th, NWO. 12th, Seth Rollins. 11th, Pretty Deadly. 10th, Street Business. 9th, Finn and Damien. Judgment Day. 8th, Nakamura. 7th, New Day, Kofi and Xavier. 6th, AJ Styles. 5th, Drew McIntyre. 4th, Dominic. 3rd, Solo. 2nd, Jimmy Uso. And 1, John Cena.
I love it. I think that's a good list for this week. Okay. All right, well, that is the list, and that is the show for you folks today. Again, thank you to all of our patrons for supporting us in what we do in our endeavors in helping keep the lights on and keeping Wrestling is Cool alive and strong. Thank you very much. If you're listening to this on podcast services or you're watching this on YouTube, make sure to leave it a review, a thumbs up, whatever it is, whatever method of review there is on whichever service that you are consuming. Wrestling is Cool. Sancho, where can people find you? Because you've been cooking on Twitch, my man. You've been cooking.
Thank you. You can find me on Twitch, which I recorded this episode Monday morning for y'all. So come on by the Twitch.
Yeah, this was an early episode. I don't usually look this bad, fellas.
Yeah,
I don't usually look this bad. Twitch.tv/SantiZap. Thank you very much for watching this episode of Wrestling is Cool. You take care and be wonderful, people.
Stamps.